Sony made another self-induced botch this week when they announced they're raising the MSRP for PS5s by up to 20% in several key markets. Now let me tell you what I know about inflation. The invisible hand. So I just got home from Cologne, Germany last night as I was helping out with Gamescom ONL. And, I mean, I feel good today. I got 12 straight hours of sleep, but I realized that when I do a show like this, like Gamescom or like the Game Awards, normally I like go away and come back like nothing happened. I just don't talk about it. And part of that is, you know, I'm signing NDAs, and then also there's just stuff I frankly shouldn't talk about. But as I'm trying to make things more personal, I guess, these days, it's becoming almost weird to be secretive about it. So I figure, why not? Here's what it's like to work on Gamescom ONL. So, Opening Night Live. If you haven't heard about it before, that's okay. It's only existed for 4 years, and 2 of those years were obviously weird COVID-era studio shows, for which I hosted 2 obviously weird COVID-era apartment pre-shows. Before 2019, Gamescom would have opening night shows, but those were low-key and weird. They were weird.
17 years ago, the first Desperados was launched on the market. There were actually to attract a bandito with a tequila bottle and actually to come around the corner with a cowboy, throw a knife at his back, and then the guy who's actually observed it actually is sent into the back and beyond with a sharpshooter. But it only works after hours of planning.
They would even have like politicians come out on stage and just yammer for 5-minute blocks.
We may need bigger halls in future because there are so many politicians here, more than ever before. Sorry for the wild card holders.
Now in hindsight, I think those were actually pretty good because you could show any video game trailer after that. It wouldn't matter what it is. You're like, thank God. Please. Please show me a 2D animated wisp shushing me. So despite Gamescom, the show, being around for 14 years, Opening Night Live, the Keighley show, is relatively new. And the interesting thing about this production is that while there is a lot of overlap with the Game Awards team in terms of producers and directors, most of the production, the cameras and audio and lights and stage managers, most of the people are German. And so they're just really good at just rolling with it. Lots of positivity, lots of, yes, I get it. It'll be good. And then it turns out good. It's just a lot of, and no negativity, no egos, just a really cool team to work with. In English, anyway. As far as what I was responsible for, my job title was floor producer, which in my own experience can mean anything. I still don't know what a floor producer does. But I don't want to give you the impression that like I'm an essential member of the team, that I'm a crafter. I usually come on to these shows pretty late in development. So in this case, the rundown was done and the script was done by my first day. So I had 4 primary responsibilities for ONL. The first was to make sure Jeff's script is on the hand cards, which are these. And to be clear, someone else entirely, an absolute professional, formatted the cards. I merely cut and glue sticked them. But I feel like, given the tools at my disposal, I feel like this is pretty good. You would not know that was cut and glue sticked from there. Here you probably get a good idea. But it's crazy to think that the skills I developed in elementary school art class are still helpful today. But at the same time, I was really good at elementary school art class. They don't hand out the 21 crayon salute to just anybody. My second responsibility was to stand in for rehearsals. So I don't have any personal behind-the-scenes video of the event, but I guess I can show you this. So here I'm just a stand-in here. I look like I'm stressed. out of my mind for some reason, but actually I'm not doing shit. I'm just being a body. I'm just standing there so lighting and cameras can figure out what a body will look like when there's a real person standing there. But the other thing about being a stand-in for this show is that every time we rehearsed an award acceptance, it would be me. It would be me doing a fake speech and holding the trophy for 30 seconds. And 30 seconds is so much. 30 seconds is, wow. You get 2 for that. Me and the team, we are so proud to be here. And then you're only 5 seconds in. It's so much. And you would think that I would just have a fun time improvising and making jokes. But one thing I've learned is that when stand-ins try to be funny, nobody wants it. When stand-ins are being up there and like taking their time to shine in the spotlight, no one's amused. They're just trying to make the show good at that time. They're stressed out. They're rolling their eyes. In the control room, they're just like, oh my God, this guy. Stop. So I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to be like honest to like the timing and the tone and respectful to Gamescom and the organization. And knowing all of that, when I was doing interviews with Jeff as a stand-in, he knew my role. So he knew he could ask anything he wanted to, knowing that I would have to respond sincerely and extensively. And so that was a hard job too. Though, I mean, the BSing was early rehearsals. By the time we got to late rehearsals, the actual interviewees had rehearsed with Jeff. And then for the final rehearsals, I was there. To get things timed out, I was just reading word by word what they would say. But I will say, okay, so I'm not trying to like expose or call anyone out when I say that those interviews are scripted out. Because, I mean, like, you could guess. They kind of clearly are. At the same time, none of them play out exactly as they are scripted. You know, I'd have this chunky paragraph full of marketing language, and then the actual interviewee in the actual show would reduce it, and it would come off more naturally in their own language. But also, Jeff never stopped any of their interviews to ask for a hug. My third responsibility was to announce Jeff's entrance, which was this.
The creator of the Game Awards, Geoff Keighley!
And so the only hard part about that really is that I'm hearing like 3 or 4 different countdowns leading up to my own audio cue. So I'm in my corner. I'm facing a wall. I'm trying to stay focused so I don't look at anyone. I just stare at the wall. I'm holding a little handheld microphone and I'm sipping hot tea, trying to keep, I guess my mouth wet. And in my headset, I'm hearing the calls for everything. So it's 2 directors who are like, and 4, and ready graphics, and 3, and ready cue, and ready announce, and 2, and take graphics, and 1, and slate, and announce. And then, so it just, suddenly it happens amongst 4 other things. I don't know how I never stammered, honestly. I can, barely talk on this pre-recorded video. But I want to also, listening back to that clip.
Please welcome to the stage.
I sound like I'm shouting. It sounds like, Kyle, why are you so loud? Why are you screaming? And it's because in the room, it's hard to illustrate this. The audience noise was louder than it sounds on the broadcast. I thought I had to shout over thunderous applause as it was escalating, but listening back to it, it sounds like maybe I'm overhyping it, right? It sounds like Kyle's a little too, he sounds insane right now. So, note to self, maybe keep it low key next year. Geoff Keighley. Something like that. And my 4th responsibility is to help out with anything unexpected. And that's obviously the stuff we're not going to talk about today. But I think that's the bossy factor, baby. That's where I come in, right? I think number 4 is why I get hired for such a thing. And it is weird, I realize that, it's a big live production job. And the only ones I take are for video game shows. That stuff isn't a general passion of mine, but because, I don't know, it's Gamescom, because it is the Game Awards, I'm into it. I'm, willing to do it. It's fun to do. Sadly, I didn't take many photos. In fact, I was kind of discouraged, but I do have these. Here's the entrance to Köln Messe, which is Gamescom's conference center. I remember seeing this billboard for hyenas, and I was like, oh yeah, hyenas. Here's what the stage looked like from the audience. I thought it was cool that this place had its own custom upholstery. And if you're thinking, wait, what's the deal with that umlaut then? O umlaut is the same as OE. They're interchangeable, though I don't know when Köln Messe made the switch. It's possible that these chairs are a little retro. Here's our backstage production office. Enhance. That's the old nasty trusty little glue stick that held all those cards together. And this is my late night train station McDonald's order. That's a sweet chili chicken wrap. It's a bad meal overall. Look at this nugget. This is a 3 out of 10. Clearly their heart wasn't in it. But that was it. Flew in, did ONL, flew out without much seeing of the actual Gamescom itself. But what I did get to do, what I did get to see, had a great time. Loved it. Would do it again. I'll be back with more delayed input next week. Thanks for watching. And now, my favorite new German phrase I learned at Gamescom 2022, Doppelt gemappelt. The German way to say that would be Doppelt gemappelt, but, still better. What it means is, I have to thank the ONL co-host, Melly, for teaching me this. What it means is, it's what your teacher would say if you had a redundant sentence in your essay. They would point at your paper and say, Doppelt gemappelt. They'd point at that sentence. Doppelt gemappelt. Doppelt meaning like double or duplicate. Gemappelt meaning nothing. It is just a silly word that rhymes. So, let's practice Doppelt gemappelt. Doppelt gemappelt. Today we are thrilled to unveil the DualSense Edge wireless controller for PlayStation 5, the first ever high-performance, ultra-customizable controller developed by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Designed to give you an edge in gameplay by allowing you to create custom controls, the DualSense Edge wireless controller invites you to craft your own unique gaming experience tailored to your playstyle. Doppelt gemappelt.
いずれにせよ、このチャンネルで話すことは自身の経験にちょい足しするものだと考えてください。あくまでベースは視聴者の方の経験や技術や考え方、その考えにちょっとだけ下駄を履かせること。
Doppelt gemappelt.